People don't make the best choice. They make the choice they want most. That sounds simple, but behind it hides something troubling. You know it's not the best choice. You still take it. Not because you're not smart, not because you don't know the consequences, but because, in that moment, you believe one thing. Those consequences won't really land on me. 3,000 years ago, a man made a choice he believed would only affect himself. That choice, 10 years later, turned a powerful city to ash. To understand this story, you first need to know about a wedding. This man was a grandson of Zeus, a Greek hero, a king of Thessaly, the father of the warrior whose only weakness was his heel. His name was Peleus. When he married the sea goddess Thetis, gods and mortals alike attended the feast, all except one, Eris, goddess of discord. Eris wasn't invited, but she came anyway, uninvited, unannounced. She said nothing at the banquet. She only threw a golden apple onto the table. Engraved on it were Greek words, te kaliste, for the most beautiful one, Hera, queen of the gods, Athena, goddess of wisdom, Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. 3 goddesses saw it and reached out simultaneously. Mine! All 3, each one, believed that apple was hers. In the middle of that grand wedding feast, no one dared make the judgment. Even Zeus, king of all gods, knew these were 3 women you could not afford to offend. And so the task of judging was handed to an outsider, a Trojan prince from the eastern shores of the Aegean, Paris. Paris, the same sound as the City of Lights. 3 goddesses came to Paris, one by one, to negotiate. Hera, queen of Zeus, said, "Choose me, I'll give you power, you'll rule the mightiest kingdom on earth." Athena, helmeted, shielded, said, "Choose me, I'll give you wisdom, you'll be undefeated on every battlefield." Aphrodite, barely clothed, said, "Choose me, I'll give you the most beautiful woman in the world." Power, wisdom, a woman. Can you guess his answer? As you might expect, perhaps glory felt too distant, but desire felt very immediate. Prince Paris gave the apple to Aphrodite. And who was this most beautiful woman? She was said to be born from a swan's egg, after Zeus transformed himself into a swan and seduced the Spartan queen Leda, the most beautiful woman in the world, her name Helen. And the problem was, Helen was already married to the king of Sparta. Prince Paris went to Sparta and took Helen, or stole Helen, away with him. And so the Greeks had their cause. 1,000 ships gathered from across the Greek islands and sailed across the sea. 10 years of war, the Trojan War, had begun. Let's go back to that moment when Paris made his choice. Paris stood before 3 goddesses, representing power, wisdom, and beauty. This was not a question with a correct answer. 3 options. Choose one, offend the other 2. Zeus was wise enough to know that none of the choices was right. No matter what Paris chose, there would be a price. This situation appears in real life far more often than you might think. Not every problem has a correct answer waiting to be found. Sometimes the structure of the problem is simply this: no best option, only options with different prices. In those moments, what do we usually do? We usually choose the option that costs us the least, right now, for who we are in this moment. Paris was human, so he did the same. Choose power that demands management. Choose wisdom that demands responsibility. But choose a woman, that price seems like no price at all. Seems like. But I want to ask a more direct question. Did Paris truly not know the consequences? He knew Helen was another man's wife. He knew the Spartans. The Greek alliance would not look away. He knew that taking a Greek king's wife could not possibly come without a cost. And still, he chose. Why? Because of a psychological phenomenon called optimism bias. Simply put, we know bad things happen, but we believe bad things happen to other people, not to us. Statistics say 1 in 5 marriages ends in divorce. But when you get married, you think, that won't be me. Statistics say over 90% of startups fail. But when you start yours, you believe you're the exception. Paris was the same. He knew there was risk in taking Helen, but he believed that risk would not really land on him. Maybe the Greeks wouldn't actually come. Maybe even if they did, powerful Troy could hold. Maybe things would work out somehow. Maybe. He didn't fail to see the consequences. He simply believed. He was the exception. This psychology is more dangerous than simple greed, because with greed, you know you're being greedy. But believing you're the exception, that feeling looks exactly like a reasonable judgment. Has there been a golden apple moment in your life? Not asking you to regret a choice, just asking one question. In that moment, did you think about the consequences? And if you did you actually assess them? Or did you tell yourself, those consequences won't really happen to me? Paris was not a villain. He was just a person who, facing 3 imperfect options, chose the one most attractive to who he was, right then, in that moment. And told himself, it probably won't come to anything. This we do every single day, except most of the time, 1,000 ships don't come sailing across the sea. No 10-year war breaks out. No city turns to ash. The price doesn't scale that high. But the structure, knowing there's a price, believing it won't fall on you, thinking, I won't be that unlucky, and then choosing anyway. So the story of the golden apple is not a story about a prince who went wrong. It's about a question with no correct answer, and a person who believed he was the exception. The goddess of discord, Eris, who threw down that apple, is what mythology and literature call the 13th guest, the uninvited presence who didn't need to destroy anyone. She simply placed a question on the table, a question everyone wanted to answer, but no one could answer completely. Like the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, where a king invited 12 wise women but forgot the 13th, who then brought a curse upon his house. And then someone made a choice, and the world was never the same again. Let me ask you, if you were Paris in that moment, what would you have done? Before you answer, ask yourself first, when was the last time you made a choice thinking, it probably won't come to anything? Woo Talks World. See you next time.